Now this means that Canty will play. You heard last night he wouldn't play. Tony Davis has been here with us in our studio, says he hears that he will play. So at this stage you'd want to be knowing one way or the other, wouldn't you?
It's a game. Well, it's a game of cat and mouse. Are they going through the motions and just allowing Canty to do a fitness session and then say, look, we gave him the chance up to the last minute? I still don't think he can play with a grade 2 hamstring strain. I don't think it's possible.
Tear, a grade 2 tear. You can put a person out on the field and put a jersey on him. Whether he's fit to play or not is different. Because no matter if he has come back and his hamstring is now, he's missed 3 weeks of training.
He has. Would it simply be a case, Colm, of we'll chance him, if it's not going well, we have an option?
Surely well,
you can't bring him on during the match.
He is the leader of the team, and Cork haven't that many leaders. And even against Roscommon, when things were going, you know, they weren't going to lose the game or anything, but Canty was the one man who sort of got the team together and got them over the line.
All right, Pat, now you've talked to us already this summer about Cork and about some things that they do well, other things maybe they don't do quite as well.
Well, before we look at the piece of analysis, I mean, Cork have probably been the third best team in the country over the last decade. Why haven't they won in All-Ireland? I think mentally for a start, obviously they've had to face Kerry and Croke Park. The only team that has beaten them in the last 6 years is Kerry in Croke Park. So there's the mental thing. But I think outside of that, I think tactically they're a little bit naive and they're a little bit inept. And first thing, I think one of their plies in attack is to carry the ball out of defence. And as Limerick showed last year and this year, and Kerry showed again last year in the All-Ireland final and this year, that if you stop them counteracting, if you stop the extra man, they're limited. Now this year they've got worse because they're doing the hand passing, but they're doing it slow, ponderous, lateral.
That's deadly.
You saw a hand pass back to Quirk. Quirk got 4 back passes in the quarter final. Now at this stage there's about a dozen passes and they've reached the halfway line. That's number one. Now in those clips as well, what we've seen is the half forward line playing too deep. That's the second thing. Is in the second half against the half-forward line of Pearse O'Neill here, Paddy Kelly and Jimmy Kerrigan. Look, Kelly is the fittest guy in the Cork team. Kerrigan is the fastest guy in the Cork team. And O'Neill is probably the strongest guy. And where they're at their best is when they play as half-forwards, running at a defence, like they did against Roscommon. Cork scored 1-8 in the final 20 minutes. So what do Cork have to do? If they play that slow, ponderous hand passing game, the Dublin players will be back in numbers. And number two, if they're half forward and are playing too deep, same thing, they're playing into Dublin's hands. So what Cork have to do is they have to move the ball quick, long, kick it, and play with a bit more urgency.
Colm, Pat mentioned Alan Quirk there, the Cork goalkeeper, Stephen Cluxton, obviously the Dublin goalkeeper. You've been looking at the two goalkeepers in actual fact, the contrast of the kickouts that they employ and what they're trying to achieve with their kickouts.
Stephen Cluxton normally he'll kick short, he'll kick long, and you know, a goalkeeper gets more kicks of the ball in a game than any other player, so they need to use them better. And we saw with Cluxton against Tyrone, even though he kicked long a lot of the time, he also kicked with purpose. He just didn't lash it out in the middle of the field. And Dublin won most of their own kickouts. Now I know they let Tyrone have all their own kickouts in that game, which to me looked very foolish, but Cork don't mind long kickouts into the middle of the field because they have a whole series of giants around there, and Nicholas Murphy being one of them and Alan O'Connor, and they're both excellent fielders. And also you have a lot of power around that half back line, Paddy Kissan coming in on the breaks, and generally speaking, even against the best of teams, they can dominate possession on kickouts, so they won't mind kicking it long and just fighting for it, while Dublin will be looking to play it short.
Which makes a big difference tactically, Michael, because it means that whereas Tyrone, which I thought was a massive boost for Dublin, Tyrone are kicking to the corner back all the time and the Dubs are in position. Cork are going to be landing the ball 80 yards out. They're the best team in the country at winning the ball out there. I've never seen anyone better. And I mean, the ball's going to be over Ger Brennan's airspace from day one, which means that immediately there's going to be pressure coming down the centre of that Dublin defence.
But what is
so
very
Dublin
surprising,
are going to have the time to sort of set up the way they had against Tyrone.
In the clip that Colm showed, you showed Nicholas Murphy catching a load of high ball. I cannot understand, and he played superb when he was introduced in the second half against Roscommon. He's a fantastic fielder, and I can't understand why Aidan Walsh is preferred to Nicholas Murphy, because I thought Cork in the second half managed to end up with the best 15 on the team.
Colin, just looking at the two teams back, they're out on the field now for this All-Ireland semi-final, and you know, one thing that we've been saying about Dublin this year is, and as the championship has gone on, they've shown a sense of purpose about themselves, especially when they come to Croke Park, that they're here to do business, not here to be playing to the gallery as maybe might have happened in the past.
Yeah, well, there was a very dramatic change after the mauling they got against Meath, when Meath scored 5 goals. And you know, both teams have changed quite a lot. I think I was looking at the Dublin team from that day, and I think there's either 5 or 6 changes on the starting 15 today from that team. So like, not only have they changed from the beginning of the year, they've changed quite dramatically as the campaign has unfolded, and the same is true of Cork as well. But what they have now, I think, is most important. They've David Henry and Brian Cullen. They've 2 extra defenders, and it was very interesting here against Tyrone. When Tyrone men got the ball in the middle of the field, the Dublin half-backs actually didn't bother to tackle them. They ran back to support their own full back line, and it was up to Cullen and Henry and the midfielders to pick up the players in that area.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here on the programme. Back with more.
There, Dara, they're certainly wearing a new look this year. I think gone is the swashbuckling gung-ho approach that we've seen in the past, and we have a much more pragmatic Dublin this year. I think defensively they're very solid, obviously with the 2 wing-backs coming back, but at midfield in particular, I think Michael Dara McCauley has been the inspiration. I've really been taken by his tackling, his link play and his work rate, and above all that, I think he's a wonderful temperament. Now up front then, you know, physically very strong, particularly mobile, and in general don't foul very much. At midfield, I think they've gone for mobility rather than for experience, in particular with O'Connor and Nathan Walsh. But I think it's the half-forward line that I like the look of. And Pearse O'Neill in particular, like, he has these panzer-like runs to the middle. He loves attacking the middle, and apart from being a good ball winner, he has wonderful vision. And I think he can lift Cork above the ordinary.
Contribute any few scores on a regular basis.
Joe?
Well, I mean, I think increasingly, I was thinking about him during the week, and I think he might go on to be the greatest forward that Dublin have ever produced. I mean, he broke through against Tyrone, really, and carried the scoring burden, you know, in a very, very high-octane game. He's a marvellous finisher. He kicks off both feet. He's very, very quick. He's a great instinct. He's difficult to mark now because he's coming out the field and then running from deep towards the goals. You know what I mean? I was thinking during the week of Rock Keaveney, all those guys, you know, and there's no doubt that Bernard Brogan is stepping into that sort of company the way he's playing.
Well, I suppose he's been in it. If Dublin had been going better in some of those championships for a couple of years. Colin, Daniel Goulding, Martin mentioned him there in his assessment of the team for Cork. And Cork have a good forward division, but Goulding is also very critical to the way they play.
Yeah, well, both forward lines are a bit lopsided in that they're dependent on one man in particular, and Goulding has scored 130 in this year's championship, and Donach O'Connor is the next highest scorer with 11 points. So, like, you know, he scored a goal and 19 points more than the next highest. Now, of course, quite a bit of that comes from free, but you would think you would have a better spread of scores. But you know, Goulding still has to do it at the highest level. You know, in the All-Ireland finals against Kerry and semi-finals, he just hasn't done it. And, you know, I know at half-time here against Tyrone, Joe was saying about Bernard.
Pearse O'Neill is starting midfield.
The game underway. Kildare or Down will play the winners of this in the All-Ireland Senior Football Final, which takes place 4 weeks today. First touch for Ray Carey. Graham Canty back to Alan Quirk. Alan O'Connor, born in Dublin, used to play with Lucan Sarsfield. O'Leary down there, here's Paddy Kelly. Alan Brogan putting him under pressure. They go back to Michael Shields, the fullback. Now John Miskela, who's out around the half-back line. Graham Canty took a hit. Ross McConnell caught him a little high with the shoulder. The early ball in to the Cork full forward line, comes straight back out. Brogan deep. Ger Brennan is picking up Pearse O'Neill at the moment. Niall Corkery, brilliant ball in, he's got away. Goal chance! Goal for Bernard Brogan. What a start for Dublin in the second minute. The All-Ireland quarter-final last year against Kerry, they were stung by an early Cooper goal. They've got an early goal against Cork in 2010.
What a pass that time, over the top. Brogan lurking in behind, finishes it beautifully, keeps it low. Wonderful start for Dublin.
Well, I thought they were supposed to be watching Bernard Brogan. Held onto it too long, and pressure off the Cork defence for the moment. Indeed, it was Niall Corkery. Miskela. missed the league campaign because of injury. Here's one of Cork's main men, Pierce O'Neill. The spin around from Donegal O'Connor. First point for Cork and a good response to the shock of the Dublin goal from Donegal O'Connor.
Yeah, lovely spin this time. Just watch the ball. O'Neill gives it to him. It's very, very loose marking though by the Dublin defence. Gives O'Connor all the time he needs. Incidentally, hit that brilliantly.
That was intended for Ross McConnell. Is picked up by the Dublin captain, David Henry. A former cornerback, Alan Brogan. Cork not tight enough. He's got options ahead of him, but Alan Brogan goes himself. Hasn't been scoring as regularly as he would like. He's had to alter his game to fit into this new system.
Yeah, good play again by Alan Brogan. Just watch him. That'll do him the world of good. He hasn't had the greatest year in terms of scoring. I think 8 points up to now is just, but that'll certainly do him the world of good. It's certainly been the Brogan show so far, even though it's early days.
Goal and 30. The booing not welcome, but I'm sure his concentration so totally won't even hear it. Made good contact with it, Goulding, and it's a very fine kick. And that is the way to answer the boos on Hill 16.
Yeah, I love seeing a player kicking the ball off the ground from that distance, and that is so well taken. What is interesting
of Kula. A little bit of a hospital pass for David Henry, but just fell into his arms at the right time. He's fouled by Graham Canty. Alan Brogan again showing ahead of Niskola. Philly McMahon, who's surging forward, scored a great point against Tyrone, wants one against Cork. That's not going to happen though, or is it? Well, it just managed to, it looked as if it was drifting wide, but to his credit he managed to bring it in. Great score.
Well, I thought exactly the same.
Yeah,
it looked
look
to be going wide there just at the last minute. I think it was the ground and the hill glue it in. It just slipped in the inside of the post.
In front of Michael Shields, Aidan Walsh has the gloves on today. It's perfectly dry out there. Shields again. A beautiful ball in. It's Alan O'Connor of Cork. Goal chance. Pierce O'Neill. Brilliant save from Cluxton. He got right out on his toe. Should O'Connor have taken that on himself? He decided to bring the free man in, and the goal chance gone thanks to a wonderful save from Stephen Cluxton, who narrowed the angle. And O'Neill saw this Navy figure coming towards him. Aidan Walsh has missed one from distance. This may be kept in. No, it's not.
Very good save.
That kick out more central, right down the middle for Cluxton, and it's found its mark. Michael Darragh McCauley. Ross McConnell. Bernard Brogan, O'Gara furthest forward. Simple game when you do it like that. Win the kick out, find the free man, put the ball over the bar.
That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Long kick out, the first one we have seen today from Cluxton, down the middle. Beautiful off the ball movement inside. Brogan again, wonderful score. But that was 3 kicks, good quality, accurate foot passing, and you know exactly the conclusion you want at the end of it. Today quite a bit under a bit of pressure as a result.
Daniel Goulding got Cork's last point some 7 minutes ago. Swinging that one in, and that's beautifully done by Daniel Goulding. Off the ground and perfectly accurate. Snow on that almost, and O'Gara wins it in front of Graham Canty this time. O'Gara drifting all over the place, free in.
It was very well run, well won, an unnecessary free conceded by Graham Canty.
He's got 1-1 in the game. Bernard Brogan. He can mark that down now as 1-2. Their first point in the match from a place ball. Great fielding from Aidan Walsh. Fouled the ball. Well, he did the hard part, he won the ball, but possession surrendered, and here come Dublin. Alan Brogan. Bernard's been doing the business, and Alan Brogan does it for the second time today. His second point, 1-5-3 in the 18th minute from that elementary mistake from Aidan Walsh.
Yeah, a lot of indecision that time on the part of Aidan Walsh. Alan Brogan makes the most of it, flicks it over lovely with the left foot.
footballer. Here's Paddy Kelly. Had a great first season in 2009. Kelly hanging on to it a long time, and Dublin swarming around. Cork men have to be free. They are. Kerrigan sweeping it all the way across to Walsh. He's had 2 shots already, missed them badly. He's got that one though, and that'll do his confidence no end of good after those 2 poor attempts earlier, and indeed the foul on the ball which led to Brogan's point, the last one for Dublin.
Yeah, but Aidan Walsh, very clever play, goes away from where the ball is being concentrated, gets himself.
Again popped up free, Brian Cullen to his left, Bernard Brogan and O'Gara in there, McMahon backs himself, goes for glory. That, looking up here, it sort of could have gone either way, Martin.
Well, I thought John Miskelley committed the initial foul, and I thought the call was right by the referee. I think he'd have gripped him by half the togs, half the jersey.
Alan Brogan, free taken quickly. Michael Darragh McCauley has got a goal already. Wants another one. No, he doesn't. He's fisted the point. Their first score in over 11 minutes.
Yeah, good score by McCauley this time. Burst through the tackle. Did he keep the hand? I think that's an open-handed score. That should have been disallowed.
Spot, yeah.
Should have been disallowed.
Very good spot. This match, that score from McCauley will be a talking point. As it is, Dublin have a 5-point cushion and Cork need to get moving. Miskelley to Paddy Kelly. Pierce O'Neill there. Kelly drifts away 30 metres out. Got his foot through that. Good point. They're first in 11 minutes.
Yeah, to me that's the score of the game so far. A lovely interchange of passes between Miskelley and Paddy Kelly. Kelly just holds it on long enough, makes the angle for himself, shoots it.
Darragh McCauley easily fielded. Walsh got up in the air too early. He's taller than McCauley, and it's another Hail Mary in towards Bernard Brogan. Shields did extremely well to get a hand on that, but it breaks for the Dublin forward. Bernard Brogan on the spin, turning. Is it over? Yes, it is. That's a fabulous point. He hardly had time to have a look at the post, but instinctively just had a go, and it's 1-7 to 5.
Yeah, well, he goes and wins his own break that time. He's glutton for work today. That was a ball he had no right to win after it was broken away for him, but it just shows the confidence the guys in it. But it was very much avoidable. He could have, he could have come in lower that time, not risk the free.
Donnacha O'Connor wonders has this been taken from the correct position. He's made great contact with it, and that is a beautiful free from Donnacha O'Connor. Again, off the ground, brilliant. And Barry Cahill is going to come in for Dublin, wearing 7. So they've reversed it, both on cautions. Cork with a free. Paddy Kelly. Paul Kerrigan trying to run Philly McMahon. Kerrigan is quick. McMahon trying to keep up with him. Kerrigan absolutely brilliant, punching a hole in the cover, and that is a super score from Paul Kerrigan, and Cork need more of that, much more of it. They've been wayward with their shooting, but Kerrigan showing the rest how to do it. Yeah,
but just watch, he sees the space in front of him, goes directly for it, gives Philly McMahon a right good tank in that time. Great score.
Narrowing the gap. Nemo Rangers man. That's for Niall Corkery. And Corkery foul. Mahan trying to get to him. Kerrigan drilling it in. Oh, and Cluxton thought that was going wide, but he managed to swerve it in, and it crashed off the post, and a let off for Dublin. David Henry. 9 wide. Kerrigan thought he had a goal. There's a long ball in, the 2 Cork defenders in each other's way. O'Gara to Bernard Brogan, and Brogan not going to miss from there. In additional time at the end of the first half, the gap swells to 4. But what a 60 seconds, and Kerrigan almost scored a goal down at the other end. Brogan comes down and does this.
Yeah, great presence of mind by O'Gara, something you don't normally associate with him. Kept the head, realised that Brogan's on fire, gave him the broken ball. But just watch this one. Whoa, that was right, nearly right into the top corner. Very unlucky from a Cork point of view.
Noel O'Leary trailed Dublin by 1-8 to 7 at half-time. Michael.
And back here in our Croke Park studio, we have Joe Bradley, Colin Rourke and Pat Spillane. Colin, it's been high-tempo stuff. Dublin are playing well. but the gap in the scoreboard isn't huge.
Yeah, it's a wonderful sporting occasion, great atmosphere, there's great pace to the game. It's been a great contest so far. Dublin more clinical, even though they've had a couple of very bad wides, particularly from O'Gara. Very similar to the pattern of the Dublin-Tyrone game. Tyrone who had more scoring chances that day, but Dublin forcing them out. And we have one of the great one-man exhibitions of football in the first half from Bernard Brogan. You know, we set out a contrast between Brogan and Goulding as the two main attackers. Well, it's a no contest. Brogan given one of the great performances we've ever seen in Croke Park.
In actual fact, Colin, anytime the ball has come down this side of the field, which is into the Cork defence, you can nearly hear the fire brigade ringing.
Yeah, there's a bit of panic in that Cork defence, and they've tried two men on Brogan. It's not working. Graham Canty to me doesn't look fit, and Dublin the more clinical team. When it comes down into the forwards, there's panic stations, whereas Cork has slow build up and finding it difficult to get scores, being forced to kick from wide positions.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. Further reflection on that first half in a few minutes. Now also it's a fascinating tactical battle as well.
Yeah, it's not a great game of football, Michael. You had 16 wides in that half, but it is a fascinating battle and it's a great contest. And like Dublin are winning because they had more purpose, more flair, more work rate. They seem to have a plan, and as Colm said, they had the class player on the field there in Bernard Brogan. Cork's tactical plan came out of the clueless tactics of GA department because they had no clue. There was no work rate, there was no cohesion in the forwards, and the slow build-up from the defence is just playing into the Dubs' hands. I mean, if these Cork fellas invented a sat-nav, they'd take you all over the country, backwards, sideways, and you'd end up back where you started. It's absolutely kamikaze
is
tactics.
Is that because Dublin just simply not allowing them to develop some of those?
No,
exactly,
there is that, but sure, they knew that. A blind man would know that at the start again, that that's the way Dublin were going to set up. But the way Cork are playing it are just playing into their hands because they're doing the short kick-outs, and it's long, slow, laborious build-ups. God save us, anyone could defend against that.
The reason for this, Pat, is, you know, you talk about my obsession with method. It's method. The reason that a Dublin team of virtual unknowns are, you know, really putting Cork to the pin in their collar, and it look very much as if they're going to go on and win the game now, is method. Cork are playing the game in Dublin's terms. I don't know how many times we sat in the studio and I said, Kerry are playing the game in Tyrone's terms. You know, they're moving forward. Their half-backs are being sucked forward by the screen defence, and now Tyrone are counter-attacking against them into the space. I'll give you a good example of what I mean. If Bernard Brogan were playing where Goulding is today, behind a screen of Dublin defenders, we would be saying he's not doing anything. If Goulding, meanwhile, were playing where Brogan is, where they're attacking into the space and it's 2 against 2 every time they attack, we'd probably be saying Goulding's having a marvellous game of football.
Yeah, but
the point about it is this, that it is the method that is enabling Dublin to do this. Because every man, look, Jose, I'll give you an example. Jose Mourinho goes to a team. What does he do? He teaches them exactly how to play. This is where you are, this is where you are, this is your role, this is exactly what we're going to do. That's what players crave above all else.
You can create, Dublin, Joe, you can create chances for a player, but he has to be class enough to take them. Bernard Brogan has scored a goal and 3 points in play in the first half.
The point Joe is making is there's a lot of rubbish there, because you put Brogan out against Tyrone with all their screen defence, and he destroyed them. Like, you know, so like one man against a defence can work it if he's good enough. And Brogan, as you said before, he's one of the top Dublin forwards of the last 30 or 40 years.
But he's showing for it, he's working for the ball. I mean, you look at the goal, the goal is classic. It's simple football, it's long, direct football, and it's naive defending on the part of Ray Carey. He was goal-sided, the defender. I mean, that's the confidence of a great forward.
You'll notice, Pat, that in Cork's case, they're just employing a normal man-to-man system.
But this is what I'm saying, Joe.
They're just running where...
But Joe, if you were listening to me, what I said at the start is that Cork's tactical game plan was so naive that you put one of the weakest defenders in the Cork team, Ray Carey, and you put him marking the best forward in the championship this year. Talk about being naive and stupid.
Well, Kerry was certainly caught out there. There's no question at all about that. But on the other side of it, look, there's only a few points in it at half-time, and Cork, Colm, have kicked wide after wide after wide.
Yeah, well, a lot of that is because Dublin have been forcing them to kick, and also, like, you have the likes of Aidan Walsh, who has got a huge amount of possession on Ross McConnell, who hasn't been in the game at the start, and he's been kicking for points, and he's not the fella to be kicking. So you had him and Noel O'Leary and Pearse O'Neill, when they should have been trying to play the ball in a bit closer. They did exactly the same against Kerry too when they came under pressure.
But they can't play the ball in closer, because for the same thing as we highlighted in the quarter-final, the Cork inside line are hiding behind their defenders, and they're not working, and they're not showing for the ball.
Apart from the fact that there's always a sweeper in place, it's a very precarious way to try and win a game, kicking points from 50 yards. But I mean, their game's based on logic. They're forcing Cork to kick the ball from 50 metres. Cork don't have half-backs and forwards who are natural scorers, as we discussed. just before the game. Dublin looked much more likely now. You would have expected at half-time, Dublin would have been delighted to come in at half-time level, or even a point behind. 4 points is a massive advantage when you're playing such an ultra-defensive game as the Dubs.
Cork also got in for a couple of goal chances. We saw Paul Kerrigan, whether he meant to or not, back up.
Real half chances.
Cluxton had to make a
real half chances.
Well,
Cluxton had to make a big save.
This was a goal chance, Joe. This was a chance for Pearse O'Neill.
Yeah, well, Alan O'Connor gets through, and you know, he gives it to Pearse O'Neill. He should have punched the ball over the bar there. When you get too close to Cluxton, you have no chance, because he'll come out and he's very brave.
O'Neill wouldn't have the quickest hands and quickest feet. He should have taken the simple option, punch over the bar. But maybe this is what we saw last year's All-Ireland final, where Kerry retreated back and said right to the Cork forwards, come beat us, and sometimes they don't have the composure when they get within reach of the finishing line.
Dublin are setting the agenda here, and Cork are playing to that agenda because they don't have any other notion. You can't just come out against a team like Dublin the week or 2 weeks before it and discuss it and decide how you're going to play against them. You've got to have been working on it the way Dublin have throughout the year. Dublin are ready. Dublin were ready for Tyrone for that reason.
Okay, we're headed off to another break. Stay with us for more on this All-Ireland.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yes, Keith Barr and Niall Callahan are here with me, and we're getting quite a reaction from Hill 16. Niall, when I was in Cork last week, the word was that Michael Shields would be marking Bernard Brogan. It's a bit naive of the Cork management to put Ray Carey on Bernard Brogan, wasn't it?
Yeah, certainly a bit strange. I think it was Ray Carey and Bernard Brogan, who has been one of the best forwards in the championship so far, you know. And Ray seemed to have got caught for yards there early on. Now they've made that move, and it seems to have settled things down a bit. But early on, we had been in big trouble in our full back line, I think, you know. And
the ball into the forwards is quite poor. It's a big, long, high ball. And when you consider Nicholas Murphy and company are along the sideline, surely should they put one of them in?
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. It's aimless. It's maybe high and what have you at times. And I think Dublin are getting men in behind the ball, and they're working very, very hard and intense.
Let me put that point to you, Keith, because Dublin are playing a very defensive game. They're allowing Cork to take the kick-outs, and it's working very well, isn't it?
Well, it is. Pat Gilroy will be the very happier of the managers going in at half-time. I mean, their plans in the first half, the tactics have worked a dream. We're getting men behind the ball, and we're frustrating Cork. And that's what's disappointing from Cork's point of view, is that they're panicking on the ball, the quality of their pass, and they're turning over the ball very easily, and they're playing into Dublin's hands here, whereas Cork need to get possession and go at Dublin if they want to win this game, because they're in serious trouble here, Mark.
You still believe Dublin going to win this?
I do believe, yes. I think Bernard Brogan is on fire in there, and Cork are finding it very hard to hold them.
Quickly, can Cork retrieve it?
I think so, definitely. I think Dublin are going to find it very hard to keep that intensity going for the next 35 minutes, and I think Cork certainly are capable of wearing them down.
Okay, you're sticking to your counties. Keith Barr, Niall Callahan.
It's a big kick for Daniel Goulding, and he's dropped it. Looked to be dropping short. Dublin player to be booked, and the ball thrown in to restart the game, so they've lost the free. Ross McConnell as they win possession back. No score for either team at the start of the second half. McConnell for Dublin in front of Hill 16. There's the first point of the second half, and their lead swells just that little bit more. 5-point game. They had a 5-point lead during the first half too.
Well, manufactured and finished off by McConnell that time. Won the ball from the throw-up and took on the responsibility. Scores a fine point.
Dublin preparing Paul Flynn. O'Connor for Cork. Oh dear, oh dear. That's a Nicholas Murphy. Cork certainly using the hand pass. Are they overusing it? Pearse O'Neill. They've found goals hard to come by in this championship. The fewest of the 4 teams remaining in this championship. Here's Daniel Goulding. They badly need that point. And he's trying to lift those around him and the Cork followers here in Croke Park. Daniel Goulding.
Yeah, it's taken 12 minutes to get the first score of the second half. Well taken with Daniel Goulding, considering some of the misses he's had up to now. That should give them a kick-start.
Well, no pressure at all on Niall. And there with it. He's had a terrible time shooting Owen O'Gara. Here's Bernard Brogan, the exact opposite of O'Gara in terms of shooting for points. And that's their reply to Cork's first point of the second half. And it's from who else but Bernard Brogan.
You have a fair play to O'Gara once again. He realises that accuracy mightn't be his strongest suit, gives it off to Bernard Brogan, who's on fire. Brogan does the rest.
Well, a yellow card in the midst of all that for Ross McConnell. Both midfielders now on yellows. Daniel Goulding. It's got to go over. And it does. Sailed over. Point number 9. 2 each since the start of the second half. Colm O'Neill is replacing. Paddy Kelly wants to get on with it. Midway point in the second half. Pádraig Kissan. There's a long one in towards Nicholas Murphy. Goal chance perhaps, and he's dragged down, and a penalty. Ross McConnell giving the penalty away. And I think it's Colm O'Neill who was rugby tackled in there by Ross McConnell. Yeah, just been booked.
Yeah, just watch it again. Takes him down, Ross McConnell, panicked a little bit. Forward, very clever in the circumstance. Just watch the forward kind of moves into him and fights.
What's ahead of him? He scored 1 from play, 1 from a free. This could really kickstart Cork's challenge as they bid to get back to the All-Ireland final. Goal for Cork. He sent Cluxton the wrong way. It's a brilliant penalty. They're all brilliant when you score them, but the pressure and the time he had to wait put it in a different context.
Yeah, he had to wait a good 2 minutes, I say, to take that, but just watch it, just inside, hits the inside of the post. That was unstoppable, I would argue.
A point between them. Dublin still leading, but here come Cork again. Paddy Kelly. And O'Connor forced out. Kept in by Noel O'Leary. They've been wasteful in front of the post, Cork. 13 wide, but now they're only a point behind. But the passing will need to be a lot better than that. Eamon Fennell is going to be in for Dublin very shortly. Bernard Brogan, is he the man to lead Dublin to their first final in 15 years? Well, that is a big response from Dublin and from Bernard Brogan. He wants more crystal on the sideboard, it would appear. But the next score after the penalty is Dublin's. It's a 2-point game.
Yeah, fantastic pass altogether. I think it was from Barry Cahill. He intercepted a Cork attack, but the ball over the top to Brogan was perfect waiting. And once again, from a difficult angle, Brogan shoots out the lights.
Darragh Macaulay, Alan Brogan. Bernard is the furthest forward. Shields picking him up. Carey in front of Alan Brogan. Dublin have a free. Brian Cullen screaming for it, trying to get free, and Miskela is trying to pick him up. Here's Cullen. Ger Brennan popping up as the extra man. Brian Cullen on his weaker left foot. Cullen steadies down, and that's a great point. Well, they have responded extremely well to the Cork goal.
Oh, fantastic score by Brian Cullen that time. Again, Bernard Brogan was unable to make the runs. He's making such an unselfish role up front, playing up there in his zone. Just watch Cullen this time. Onto the left foot, takes the responsibility, fires the score.
Kissan sideways to Owen Cadigan. Plenty of space in front of him. Nicholas Murphy trying to get very experienced man to be able to bring in at this stage of such a huge game. We're in the last 10 minutes and there's just a goal between them. Colm O'Neill for Cork. Really nice point from Colm O'Neill, proving his point to his manager as he comes on as the sub.
Yeah, okay, Colm
John
O'Neill
Miskela off, sorry Martin, and Derek Kavanagh replacing him, my apologies.
Yeah, and again Colm O'Neill that time, okay, he earned the penalty early on. Just shows you that if he can get on the end of ball, he's one of those players there at the moment that has the wherewithal to get scores. Very effective forward if he gets any kind of quality possession.
Stoppage at the moment because a Dublin player is down injured. Ossie Quinn, once they're in this sort of a position, leading by 2. And that was a foul on Daniel Goulding. by Michael Fitzsimons. The Dublin defensive discipline has got to be total. This is what happens when it isn't.
Yeah, well, he was fairly and firmly on the ball that time. He just stumbled over him.
Oh, they're looking for a goal here. Here's Paddy Kelly. Cluxton was out there, and it's gone over the bar. So now only a point between them.
Yeah, that's very quick thinking, must be said. And Paddy Kelly on the end of it. Cluxton coming out very, very quickly. And luckily enough, they didn't concede a goal that time.
With the responsibility in the last 5 minutes of the All-Ireland semi-final, and Keeney slots it over the bar. A 2-point game again. Rory O'Carroll of Dublin is really struggling at the moment, can hardly put any pressure on his left leg. But Donnacha O'Connor of Cork to bring them back to within one. The whistle's awful again, and O'Connor has missed a couple of bad ones, but he slotted that one over. The big man for the big occasion. Rory O'Carroll, he's gone. They're going to have to replace him. In 1983, the famous draw here at Croke Park and the replay in Páirc Uí Chaoimh was written about in some of the papers this morning. Macaulay not happy as Cork come again. And another free hit, a foul on Colm O'Neill. Jersey pulled back. And this is Donnacha O'Connor with a chance to equalise.
That's the third or fourth time that Colm O'Neill has been fouled since he has come in. He certainly proved a thorn in the side of the Dublin defence.
Rory O'Carroll has gone off for Dublin. And Dennis Bastick, it would appear, is replacing him. Donnacha O'Connor to tie it up with just 2 minutes remaining. O'Connor for Cork. The crowd celebrations tell you all you need to know. A draw game, 113 apiece. Now got 2 in a row. That was not a clever challenge at all from Ross McConnell, who has a yellow card against him already, and Ross McConnell has been sent off. Dublin down to 14. And there's the indiscipline.
Yeah,
we said they would need to keep their discipline and their concentration, and he lost both here.
Yeah, we talked about that beforehand. He's so rash in that tackle that time. To be fair, Noel O'Leary is charging forward with purpose, but Ross McConnell on a yellow card is one thing, but the game is leveled very, very late on in the match.
Donnacha O'Connor, he's a good distance out. The whistles from the Dublin fans come again. The last minute of normal time, about 20 seconds to go, and O'Connor has slotted it over the bar. He knew from the moment that he kicked it that it was going over. He's been criticised in the past for the quality of his free taking, but there's nothing wrong with it today. Dublin need the ball right now. They will take a replay off you without question. 3 minutes of additional time, so still time for a few twists and turns yet.
Looking away, thrive maybe on the indiscipline that Dublin have shown, which is probably down to an experience more than anything else.
And Dublin way too loose in their half-back line. Here's an opportunity for Derek Kavanagh. Brilliant score for Kavanagh. They got the experienced men on for the last 10 minutes. And Derek Kavanagh pops up in the right place at the right time with a very, very fine score. 115 to 113. Another reaction, and Dublin now need to start thinking about a goal.
Very much so, but your point is very valid. They have got the experienced players in at the right time. Every one of them have made an impact in their own way. The likes of Nicholas Murphy coming in, Colm O'Neill coming in. Callaghan, I think, has helped out in Derek Kavanagh, and there's been that waywardness by Dublin.
And that was Dennis Bastick launching that in towards Paul Flynn. Good fielding from the O'Toole's man, although that's been a source of much debate over the course of the year. That was high from Nicholas Murphy. Conal Keaney 10 seconds remaining. A goal to win it and win a place in the All-Ireland final. Bernard Brogan. Brogan going for the point. Has he got it? Yes, he has, but will there be time for them to get one more? Was he aware of how much time he had left?
I don't think he was. I feel myself he should have dropped that one into the large rectangle, taken a chance, taken a punt on that maybe with the likes of Keeney on the end of it. I think it's too little, too late.
The 3 minutes are up, 20-odd seconds over. Cork closing in on a place in the All-Ireland final, and they're back again. They will have the chance to put right the wrongs of 2009. Dublin have fallen short in yet another semi-final. They were in bonus territory here today. They led by 2 with a couple of minutes to go, but the experienced Cork heads did the rest, and Donegal O'Connor's role in the second half for Cork cannot be overstated. He was brilliant.
He was brilliant in the second half. His place kicking, the nerve held after some...
Michael.
Dara Maloney and Martin Carney, your commentators. Back here in studio, we have our panel who watched with fascination that second half. One question, gentlemen. How did Dublin lose that?
Innocence, naivety, stupidity, a defensive system that failed at the end, that they didn't have the legs. And their game plan all the year, Michael, was like Tyrone-style intensity in the tackle. The thing about the tackling is their tackling is very much on the edge and beyond. Against a strict referee, it was always going to prove costly, and it did today. They conceded 1 goal and 7 points in frees to a Cork team who were stumbling and stuttering. And at the end of the day, experience and a better subs bench saw Cork through.
But you told me at half-time that Cork were so lost in this game they couldn't even devise a sat-nav system.
They were, Michael, but they were up against a team who had one system, a bit like Waterford last week. They were up against a team whose main plan to success was based on getting a defensive system right, getting bodies back, tackling hard, and depending on one man who nearly carried them over the line to provide the bulk of the scores. Look, the rest of the forwards, there was 8 forwards were played today, and they got 3 points from play between them. They were dependent on... Listen, Joe, they were dependent on a defensive system too much, and secondly, they were totally dependent on one man to carry them through. That was Bernard Brogan.
The big thing was that Dublin were 2 points in front with 3 or 4 minutes to go. Known as the absolute sheer indiscipline in their tackling, which cost them the game. And, you know, Ross McConnell too, by giving away a penalty and a couple of those frees, I don't know what he was thinking of. But this thing of Dublin players lunging in, and, you know, they were absolutely silly frees, and it cost them the game, because really at times in that second half Cork did appear lost, but we should give credit to Cork. They kept fighting, they kept coming forward, but certainly when Dublin look at this match they'll say to themselves, we should have won it.
We must give credit to Cork here. I mean, we're talking about how Dublin lost this, and I suppose that's a fair point itself. They were 5 points up midway through the second half. Couldn't see a way back for Cork. Cork, in fairness, as the 2 boys have said, Joe, they stayed calm. That's all you can do maybe if things aren't going your way.
I mean, I think, well, that is right, but to some extent, but I think that they'll be as bewildered as anybody else how they manage to actually win. I mean, like Pat was talking about strict refereeing, any referee would have given those frees. I mean, Ross McConnell with 3 members, just pulled their man. Pulled down his man. They gave away a goal and 3 points in the last 5 minutes or the last 10 minutes of the game.
Okay, let's get the thoughts, gentlemen, of the Cork manager. Of course, is Conor Coonahan. He's a happy man this evening. He's with Marty Morrissey.
Thank you very much, Michael. Conor Coonahan, congratulations. That was some second half performance. You must be delighted.
Yeah, look, I suppose any day you come up here at an All-Ireland semi-final, the purpose is to get over the line. Now, we'd obviously preferred that we didn't take it that tight, but look, full credit, we didn't look good there for a long time, but you know, a lot of battle, and despite what people say, there's a lot of battle in these guys.
Down 4 points at half-time, and certainly Bernard Brogan seemed to be causing you serious problems. Were you worried at half-time? What did you say to the lads?
Yeah, well, look, obviously we hadn't been playing well, but at the same time we created a lot of chances. We were disappointed we didn't take a lot of those, but like we knew that we had the ability to create them, and the important thing was not to panic, keep our heads. Chances would come, and it was a matter then of taking the opportunities when they came.
All commentators, journalists, indeed people involved in the game say about the squad of players being so important. You proved again that you had the likes of Colm O'Neill, Derek Kavanagh, Nicholas Murphy to come on. They certainly made a difference, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's been said before, you know, obviously the 3 lads that came in today, but we equally have another 13 or 14 who are fierce, important people, because, you know, on days like today, the 15 and the 3 coming in get all the credit, but, you know, behind that there's a wonderful force of people who drive that on, and, you know, full credit to them all.
Dublin brought huge intensity to the table. I mean, you must have been concerned with all the different incidents that happened.
Yeah, look, I mean, in fairness to Pat, you know, he's revolutionised Dublin in a matter of months, you know, and there's fierce credit due to him, because, you know, there's no doubt he's in the most pressurised job in the country, and, you know, if there's ever a manager of the year going out this year, then he's the manager to get it.
Well, that's very kind and generous of you, but for you, Conor Coonahan, you're back in the All-Ireland final. You must be already looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it, but look, we have a big job of work there, you know, whether it's Kildare or down, you know, we have a job of work to do, and, you know, this job isn't finished.
Well done today, Conor Coonahan.
Thanks very much.
Well done. Thank you for joining us. Michael.
The job is not finished. Pat Spillane, after losing to Kerry last year, they're back in the final again. It's where they want to be.
It is indeed. And without playing, there's still a lot of sorting out to do. But can I say, you know, I have been a critic of them in the big matches in Croke Park, at semi-final and final day, and again in the Munster final or in Munster semi-final this year, where I always felt that the Cork players, when it came to those crucial few minutes to put away a game, lacked the belief, lacked the composure, lacked the experience, lacked the leadership. Well, I'll say this for Cork fellas today. They stood up, and in those last 10 or 15 minutes, when they needed leaders, when they needed composure, when they needed belief, when they needed experience, it shone through in bucketfuls.
It did. We're going to take another short break here on the programme. Back with more team, everybody.
Because they did recover from the penalty, which is a huge blow, and was self-inflicted again, because Ross McConnell launched himself at, I think it was Colm O'Neill there, and gave away a silly penalty, and was lucky actually to stay on at that time. And of course he repeated the dose then on Noel O'Leary, who had no chance of scoring when he came up, and gave away the lead point to a Donnacha O'Connor free. And Donnacha O'Connor, in fairness, you know, a fellow who's playing dreadfully from play and had missed frees, suddenly kicked a goal and 3 points, which helped win the game.
But you know, Michael, when you retreat back in defence, as Dublin do, you're inviting the opposition to come on to you. They did that against Tyrone. Tyrone kicked 17 wides and 7 balls into the goalie's hands. There will always come a day that if you invite opposition to come at you and you give them plenty of chances of shooting and running at them, that there's a chance you'll lose. And that's what happened. They played a dangerous game and they paid the price.
Pat Gilroy must be absolutely livid. He'll be enraged. He did everything right except the foul. He was in.
Did everything right to win the match.
I could strangle you. You'll be thinking about Ger Brennan and about Ross McConnell. I mean, all the work was done. The game was there. Cork were walking into the change room thinking, how in the name of God did that turn around? They didn't have to take scores from play. They didn't have to do any of the complex things that are usually required. All they did was kick a goal and 3 points from frees in the last 10 minutes. I mean,
but at the end of the day, Joe, matches are still won by teams who are more positive. And Cork, no matter with all their limitations, were still more positive than the Dubs. The Dubs were negative. They played a deep line half forward line, and they paid the price.
At the end of the day, it is Cork into the All-Ireland final, as we said. Plenty to look forward to next week in the second of this year's football semi-final.